I know like Ryan Reynolds to this day like does not rock with Wesley Snipes. Like,
Yes.
It's such a weird thing. Like we will donate $200 million to the end of like Ryan Reynolds gave like a disgusting amount of money to like black causes this
Right.
summer. But if you asked him to also just go shake Wesley Snipes' hand,
Right.
Ryan Reynolds like, nah.
He's like, listen, Black lives matter, but you know whose life don't matter? That motherfucker Wesley Snipes.
I love all black people. Here's money, but make sure Wesley don't get none of that money. It ain't for Wesley.
If Wesley gets a dime, I take it back. Fuck Wesley Snipes.
The government growing babies. Microchips in your anus. All koala bears are racist. The ozone layer owes me money. Martians invented turkey stuffing. Y'all can't tell me nothing.
Uh-oh, there it is. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there it is. Welcome to another exceptional, amazing, devastating episode of My Mama Told Me, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of black conspiracy theories, and we work to finally prove that Paul Pierce has the greatest facial hair of all time. All you motherfuckers who've been walking around here connecting your beard all these years, you're wasting your time. What you need is polka dots on your face the way Paul Pierce does it. That's real beauty in America. That's the beauty we should be striving for. Thank you, Paul Pierce, for inspiring so many, and I hope that we can finally get you the recognition you deserve. I'm your host, Langston Kerman. As always, I'm super excited to be here today. I don't even want to tell you about my life right now. My pants smell weird because we have a new washer and dryer, and I haven't learned how to work this shit properly yet. But I'm excited for my guest because he can't smell my pants, and that's pretty cool. He's hilarious. He's so funny. He's one of my favorite comedians in the world today. You know him from The Daily Show. He's a correspondent on The Daily Show. He has two amazing specials called Father Figure and No One Loves You on Comedy Central. So hilarious. Give it up for my guest, Mr. Roy Wood Jr., everybody.
Yes, damn it, you better give it up.
Give it up. How are you?
Man, I'm good, brother. I appreciate this. Always good to be around a black podcaster.
Well, that's about all I can offer you is just being black and podcaster right now.
Well, you know what? It's a good thing. This is equality and levity and growth, and I appreciate the invitation.
That's what we strive to do, is just provide levity and growth while we make up weird stuff that we read off the internet or heard.
Well,
from
yeah, let's just
strangers.
start new rumors to spread.
Exactly. I think that is one of the things that black people have not taken advantage of enough during all of this. Is like, we can cause chaos too. We don't have to just be the recipients of white chaos. We can serve up some chaos.
Well, the reason why I like this show and I like this concept is that no one can really challenge us on this. We can just say it's true, and anyone who's not black just has to roll with it and just go, you know what? I heard they said Paul Pierce has the greatest facial hair of all time.
Can't prove it's wrong.
I thought it was Rick Ross. It turns out it's Paul Pierce.
I thought it was Joe Button, the way they touch the bottom of his eyes. But no, they like Paul Pierce's beard. And that's just a fact.
Yeah, so this is cool, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me in the mix.
Hell yeah. Okay, so I'm excited because you gave us a conspiracy theory that broke a few records here. Mainly in the length of the conspiracy theory, that the title of it in and of itself is the longest conspiracy theory that anyone has ever served up to us. It's a shocking one. It's one I had never heard before in my life, and I'm excited for us to be able to dig into it because it's just got so much mystique around it. Let's say that. But you told us, my mama told me,
Billy Blanks and Wesley Snipes both auditioned for the lead role in the movie Passenger 57, but Wesley Snipes lied and gave Billy Blanks the wrong audition location. So Wesley Snipes booked the part.
And Billy Blanks ended up doing Tybo, which he made a lot of money on.
he did make
But
a lot of money.
that was not the path he chose for himself off the rip.
Right. You're saying that Billy didn't want to be the Tybo guy.
I just think that this is, first off, I heard this conspiracy theory in college.
Okay.
Late 90s, Florida A&M University. And it's one that's always lingered in my head, no matter when I see Wesley Snipes. And this is not taking anything away from Wesley Snipes' catalog of theatrical amazement.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, he's great.
You can go all the way back to Sugar Hill, all the way up to Dolomite is my name. His name is his name. But I always wonder, because Wesley came up at a time in Hollywood where they weren't going to give you more than one black in one particular category.
Right.
And Wesley Snipes checked off the dark-skinned karate brother category. Because at the time, they were both kind of karate brothers.
They were karate brothers. They went down the list. They were like, look, we got Wesley. That's all we need.
And Wesley could do so much more. We will never know whether or not Billy Blanks had the dramatic chops.
Mm-hmm.
Could Billy Blanks have pulled off To Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar?
Right.
We'll never know. Because the streets say that Wesley undercut Billy Blanks.
Wow. Okay. There's a lot to unpack here.
Let me just also say, before we really delve into this.
Yep.
This is one of those conspiracy theories that I've heard that when it was presented to me at the time, with the technology available to us at the time in 1996, I was like, that sounds plausible.
Yes.
But now that I'm older and I look back, I second guess the validity of this. However, LA is a shady place, man. Fuck it. I'm going to just say it.
Okay.
LA is a shady ass place. So you don't know if this really happened or not. And even if it wasn't Wesley, maybe one of his white agents or somebody pulled the flim flam on Billy Blanks.
Okay, let's start right from the beginning, because I think that you're digging into a lot of important stuff here. 1996, you hear this and you're immediately like, hell yeah, I'm bought in. Would you say that's the case? That you were like, okay, of course Wesley pulled these shenanigans with Billy Blanks?
Well, it started because I got chastised. I was dating a girl at the time who really wanted a Tybo DVD. Every time the Tybo DVD came on, every time the commercial came on, she'd be like, man, I need to order that. So then, being a man, fulfilling needs, I bought her the whole box set.
Okay. Hold on, big boss dog. I see you out here buying box sets.
$87, brother. $87. All the Tybos. At which time I was educated that you don't buy a woman exercise equipment. You don't buy a woman anything that suggests that she's anything other than perfect. And I got dogged out by my mom and most everybody on her side and my side of the family, and rightfully so in hindsight. But that was the impetus for the conversation. Oh, by the way, did you know Billy Blanks was supposed to be in Passenger 57?
Wow.
And I said, what?
So this girl you're dating is the one that tells you this?
No. It was her aunt.
Oh, her aunt says this.
Yeah. To be fair, though, her aunt had also done 2 tours of, Desert Storm.
Okay.
So she wasn't right. She wasn't right in the head.
Wait a minute. So you saying
the first Gulf War?
This lady, having been in war, she's making up rumors about Billy Blanks.
We don't know if it's made up, Langston, because at the time, with the technology available, you had to believe that. This is dial-up internet era internet. You can't just Google something. You have to go to a building.
Right. This is even before asking Jeeves. This is like the
Netscape Navigator, brother.
Yeah, I got you.
So, yeah, it was her aunt who, kind of gave me the quick rundown. I didn't really delve into it any deeper than that. She said it. She's a veteran. You don't question a vet. It felt like a fact.
Sure.
The way it came off her tongue. I don't like Wesley Snipes any damn way. He stole Passenger 57 from Billy Blanks. That's why I support Billy Blanks.
I got you. So this was not only a declaration of Wesley Snipes' evil, or sort of like chicanery.
Oh, yeah, she vilified him. Yeah, she wasn't fucking with Wesley.
This was her saying, I stand with Billy Blanks. I believe in the truth that is Billy Blanks.
Correct. You did the right thing in buying those Billy Blanks DVDs and supporting that brother. But what you should have done is bought them for yourself and then asked your girl to work out with you. Okay. And that would have been the right play.
So she hit you with Billy Blanks is a hero, Wesley Snipes is a monster, and here's a little game for yourself. Just in case you decide to ever buy a woman workout equipment again, do it this way.
And that's for the listeners too. If you want to buy something for your girl, either buy it for yourself and share it, or buy 2.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure if that second piece of advice is solid. Listen, I'm not married. Don't listen to me.
I am married, and the work that I've had to do to trick both myself and my wife into working out, it's a dance, man. You know what I mean? Like, you can't just be like, hey, I think you need to get it together. We need to get it together, and it's a dance for sure.
Yeah, man.
But okay,
Yeah.
so you hear this from this aunt. You have no way of verifying it. And at that point, you don't want to verify it. You're like, this is as good as a fact to me. I'm satisfied.
Why would a black woman veteran lie to me?
Sure.
It wasn't like she said Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy. She was like, no. Billy, like, she presented it like she had heard it somewhere, like BET Nightly News with Ed Gordon had mentioned it. You know, back in the day, young people, BET used to have nightly news. And so that's the way she presented it. Like, this was just a known thing.
Mm-hmm.
I read it in Jet magazine. Billy Blanks was supposed to audition for Passenger 57.
Were you at this point a fan of either of their careers? Were you a Billy Blanks man? Were you a Wesley Snipes head? Where were you at in terms of your positioning on the two?
I mean, come on, man. You can't be a black kid in the 90s growing up in that hip-hop era and not have been a fan of Wesley Snipes after New Jack City.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, New Jack City was 91,
Yeah.
maybe 92.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same vicinity as Boys in the Hood
Yeah, he had a run,
and Menace to
man.
Society. Yeah, he had a black run before he even did the crossover action stuff.
Right, he was sort of Spike's muse for a second, and then
Correct.
he sort of like transitioned into like being this sort of sexy, flexy, action dude.
He did Passenger 57. He did Tu Wong Fu. I feel like somewhere in there, Blade was a 90s movie. The first Blade,
Yeah,
for sure.
I think it's a little later in the 90s. 98
Correct.
is what I'm seeing from Olivia, that it's 98 that Blade comes around. But to your point, you gotta love.
Yeah, but Blade
Wesley
doesn't happen
Snipes.
without that showing that range in those other films
Mhm.
first. And so I was 100% a Wesley Snipes fan. Billy Blanks, I only knew from a couple of DVDs that I would never rent because,
Right.
like, Billy Blanks movies, and it's in the knock on Billy because a lot of his stuff is just straight to DVD. The game was the game at the
Yeah,
time.
that's where he was at.
But Billy Blanks movies were the movies I would consider renting if the stuff I went to Blockbuster for wasn't there.
Right. That Billy Blanks had a real like Aladdin 2 energy in his filmmaking.
Pull up his catalog. Pull up any Billy Blanks movie in the 90s and just read me the title of the film and tell me if that's something that you would just immediately go, yes, I would like that for 2 nights at my home.
Yeah, this is the movie I want to see. It's called The King of Kickboxers. Or
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's a real one. Like, you didn't just make that up, but it sounded like you did.
No, here's another one, Showdown.
Yeah, is that the one with the white dude? It's like a bootleg Lethal Weapon.
I think most of Billy Blank's films are that. It's like a white dude who's real good at karate, and Billy Blank sort of gets his ass kicked at the
He's
end.
streetwise.
Yeah. It's just Billy Blanks being like a karate assistant to a more capable white man is the
Yeah, he
premise.
played a cop in some of that stuff, and a lot of it was just retread versions of stuff that had been done better on a bigger studio level.
Mhm.
And I don't know if that's Billy Blank's fault or not. You know, I'm not trying to attack the man's career, but you asked me a question: which one was more popular, and who had the juice?
Sure,
In '96, it was Wesley Snipes,
that's fair.
without a doubt.
Right. That's not even up for debate. And I think to your point, there's a question or a potential issue in this is that maybe that juice was all spawned from Wesley Snipes being manipulative and scamming Billy Blanks out of a bigger opportunity.
Correct.
That maybe he doesn't have to make Showdown 2 if, in fact, Wesley makes this a fair and square audition opportunity.
If it's true, there's so many other people who I think failed Billy Blanks. It's bigger than Wesley.
Okay, hold on.
But continue.
I'm gonna stop you there because this is exciting, because this feels like
That's how they get you.
now that's how they get you. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to hear more about these other people who potentially failed Billy Blanks. Who else in this chain of events is really letting Billy? Who let Billy down?
So I can only speak from one experience. I've only been on the casting side of a television show once, which was my Comedy Central pilot last year. And so you have a list. You know who's coming in
Yep.
to audition. and everyone is set up pretty much essentially in 15-minute intervals, and then you put every hour you have a 10-minute break for yourself, for your own mental stability.
Right.
Because it's a 5-6 hour. For 6 hours, you're watching people come in one by one and deliver the same page of dialogue. And you gotta be able to figure out who was good.
And they all kind of look alike, and they are doing
Correct.
the same intonations over and over again. It just is an exhausting process on the spirit.
Correct. And you want to be able to delineate the good from the bad, so you have to take breaks. And so, but you're really excited to see all of these people because all of these people were recommended by someone, or you saw them do something. So there isn't anyone that's auditioning for something that you're casting that you're not excited to see, and you want them to do well. So if I'm casting Passenger 57 and I'm the casting director and I see black person after black person come in, I see Wesley Snipes come in and go, always bet on black. And then Denzel comes in, you see black? Yeah, bet on that. And then Forrest Whitaker, black. I got a recommendation for you.
Black, I can't see it. My eye is fucked up. Black.
Disrespectful. You're disrespectful. So you see all of those legends of blackness come in one by one by one. You're checking them off on the list. And then you look at your clock, and let's say Billy Blanks had a 4 o'clock, right? It's 4:10, it's 4:15, it's 4:30. And you haven't seen or heard from Billy. The polite thing for me to do as a casting person is to make a call to Billy's representatives and go, hey, where's this nigga at?
Right.
It's 4:45. Do I need to wait or can I bounce?
Right. Check on Billy.
So, exactly. And no one checked on Billy. So Wesley calls and, runs the flim flam.
Right.
Yeah, tell Billy we're auditioning in a different place. He's over here. Blah, blah, blah.
I love that that's how Wesley Snipes talks in your head. It's just like Antonio Vargas is. Yeah, tell that motherfucker Billy. It's on the other side of town.
So remember, this is early 90s. This is pre-cell phone, maybe car phone if you're a baller, but I don't feel like Wesley or Billy would have splurged on that expenditure. Like a car phone plan was like $200 a month. Like it was crazy expensive.
Yeah, it was expensive enough to install. It was another crazy expense to even maintain and make real calls.
It was literally like people like those old school brick gray cell phones from the early 90s. They were literally marketed as a way to call for help if you were in trouble.
Right.
Like it was literally, it wasn't about socializing. It's like, put this in your car so when you break down, you don't have to walk to a payphone.
This might save your life. Please do not make any other calls on this. It's very expensive.
Correct. And so the only thing I can think is that maybe Wesley called Billy earlier in the day and he got the message on his answering machine. But, in those days, what you could do was call your house and check your voicemail to see if someone called you. So I just feel like the casting director could have at least called Billy's house and said, hey, where the fuck is Billy? Is he here? And then Billy would have got that message, and then Billy would have called the casting office. That's failure number one. Failure number two is Billy Blanks not having the information from his representation on where the audition was, who was conducting the audition, and the contact information of those parties. So that the moment Billy Blanks pulls up at this dummy address that's not really the Passenger 57 audition.
Right, this abandoned warehouse where there's nothing happening here.
Fucking Quiznos or some shit. You pull up to the address and it's somebody in the cut making sandwiches. Billy Blanks should have asked for change for $1, taken those quarters, went to a payphone, and called the number on the advance sheet that his representation should have provided him. And then we would have answered the phone and been like, hey, Billy, where are you? And he'd be like, nigga, I'm at a Quiznos. And I'd be like, okay, do me a favor, head on over here so you can get this role.
Yeah, you're making, I think, a very important point that even if, in fact, Wesley did go through all of these steps to sabotage Billy Blanks, there should have been people in his life that cared enough to step in and say, no, Billy, get your ass back this way. This is the correct address. We believe
no one cared.
We believe Wesley sabotaged you, and you can still get this audition.
It's a tragedy, man. It's a tragedy all around. And I know he made millions of dollars, becoming, an exercise guru.
Mm-hmm.
And that type of stuff is very important. Everybody's path is their path. And Billy Blanks reinvigorated a lot of people's lives. And the gift of physical fitness and a new lifestyle, I would argue that that's as meaningful and transformative as going to see a Wesley Snipes film.
Well, I'd say at least Blade Trinity. It's I don't know if it's the best Wesley Snipes film, but it's one of his, mid. It's the little like regular ass movies that Wesley made.
You got to read up on that. He hated that. He hated
filming
that movie.
Buddy, that's in the research. We will unpack that. Blade Trinity is maybe one of the biggest turning points in Wesley Snipes' career. Maybe I would argue as much as going to jail for tax evasion.
Yeah, I would argue that.
All right, we're going to take a break, and then we'll be back with more Roy Wood Jr. and more My Mama Told Me. We are back.
I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that.
And we're back. We're back here with more Roy Wood Jr., more My Mama Told Me. We're still talking about that trickery that Wesley Snipes pulled on Billy Blanks and possibly changed his career forever. Allegedly. The fact, I do think you made a really important point that Billy Blanks is a hugely successful person, but it's not a success that he necessarily wanted for himself, or at least not the way that he imagined it. And that's got to be a complicated way to go to bed every night, if that makes sense.
Yeah, assuming that that's what Billy wanted. We don't know what he wanted. Like, we don't know the path. Because for all we know, Billy Blanks could have been kicking ass at the gym, and some white woman came over and go, "Wow, you have so many muscles. Teach me." And he was like, "Bitch, I'll charge you." And then that VHS got to somebody, and then she's like, it's like karate. He's like, "Well, it's Taibo." He was like, "Yeah, Taibo. It's Taibo. That's what it is called. Taibo. It's ancient art.
It's Taekwondo and boxing. Taibo. And
Taibo."
Yeah. This is a great example. You know the Allstate guy, and how the Allstate guy for years was a very legitimate actor that you'd see in...
Still is. Dennis Haysbert.
Yeah,
Put some respect on Pedro Serrano's name from Major League.
And you know his name, and you know all these important things that he's done, but now he's reached a point in his career where if you watch the Allstate commercials, they're being self-aware, and they're going, "You're the Allstate guy. You're the 20% off dude," in a way that I know that's not what he dreamt of. Like, I'm sure he's fine. I'm sure he's making money, but it's not exactly the way that he imagined things going.
To me, the difference between a Dennis Haysbert and, say, Billy Blanks in that sense is that Dennis Haysbert still books acting roles.
Yes.
Like, he still gets cast on shows. Now, are those shows as popular as Allstate in terms of personal branding and blah, 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 blah?
Right.
I don't know. But I know once Billy Blanks did Taibo, he didn't get to do a Showdown 3.
Right. Showdown pulled that contract.
I don't know. Maybe he didn't want it. I don't know, man. But it's always something that's always been in the back of my mind is if Billy Blanks had been in Passenger 57, what happens to his career?
Mm-hmm.
And more importantly, what happens to Wesley Snipes?
Right.
That was Wesley's crossover action movie in an era where it was a lot of white men doing rock'em sock'em. A black man lead in an action film?
And specifically an action film where he's like, he's in the air. Like, this isn't just...
Die Hard on a Plane. Yeah. That's how they market it.
Exactly. This isn't just some street dude who has to, like, fight back in his community. This was like a legit... Wesley had a white woman on his
employed.
arm. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's employed. Yeah. He's got a good job fighting in the sky. This was a big deal. It was a hit. Well, I don't know that it was a critically acclaimed hit, but it changed Wesley's trajectory undeniably. So I did some research.
Okay.
I unpacked some of the things that you said. And even in immediately looking this up, there's not a lot that pops up, if anything, regarding this conspiracy theory. Most of the things that I found that pertain to Wesley Snipes and Billy Blanks are people on the internet speculating who would win in a fight between Wesley Snipes and Billy Blanks. And then for some reason, they throw Michael Jai White into that same conversation.
That's a fair entrant into that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I don't know enough about Billy Blank's training to know anything, but I do know that Michael Jai legit trained all over the world.
Yeah. I think if I had to make a guess, it would be Michael Jai White would beat the shit out of both of them. Billy Blanks probably would be second, and then Wesley Snipes, who...
That's disrespectful.
Well, hear me out. Billy Blanks apparently has 300 confirmed wins as a martial artist and was once the captain of the U.S. martial arts team, for the Olympics. He was a legit fighter. Now, I did also watch a video of Billy Blanks getting knocked out in 1980-something at a martial arts tournament on accident. But he seems to have he's a man who has a bit of a name in the community. Michael Jai White is somebody who I've heard multiple people be like, I'm actually scared of this motherfucker if he ever decides to fight. Wesley Snipes is real good at kicking.
I saw Michael Jai White at one of them healthy eating spots in L.A., and I'm not going to say the location because I don't want to, stars like to eat in the cut,
right.
Or even people. But it was like one of the most, like one of the spots to give you avocado with your eggs and shit. One of them places where it's a nice place. And just, I've never seen someone be intimidating while eating huevos rancheros eggs. Like if I was his waiter, I would have been scared to go over and say hello.
Right.
And this is Black Dynamite era Michael Jai White. So he doesn't even have to do full kung fu no more on screen. Right. He just chooses to. Could have got a stunt double for half of that shit he was doing in Black Dynamite. Michael Jai was like, nah, I want to kick him.
Yeah, it does feel like at a certain point he just wrote that in the contract where he was like, hey, man, I want to do karate. I don't know how you gonna mix that into this story, but I'm going to need to kick somebody at some point. So their internet is mostly filled with that. So one of the things that I decided to do was that because this story really is rooted in Wesley Snipes' character, not his acting ability, not like his, talent. It's more about the character. What I decided to do was collect a lot of evidence on Wesley Snipes as a person and allow us to make a final decision at the end about whether or not we think that Wesley had the potential to do what he did in tricking Billy Blanks.
Okay.
All right. So number one, in terms of us learning about the Wesley Snipes of the world. In 1990, Wesley Snipes is accused of physically abusing Halle Berry so bad that she lost 80% of the hearing in her ear. That's number one. That's early in Wesley's career, that him and Halle are dating, and he beats the hearing out of her ear.
Okay.
Number two, 1993, Wesley Snipes gets caught carrying a concealed semi-automatic weapon after a motorcycle accident in LA, which leads to 2 years probation. The gun apparently is filled with hollow points for some reason because my man's an action star. He needed the good bullets in there.
Okay.
Number three.
I mean, if you're going to have a semi-automatic, you may as well have hollow points. I am trying to kill you.
Right.
That is the goal of a gun.
I don't want these to just bounce off. I need these to go through.
Phasers to stun. No.
Yeah.
Just trying to murder.
Honestly, that's more reasonable. 1990.
Why aren't all bullets hollow points? Continue.
1994, Wesley goes on a 120-mile-per-hour high-speed chase with police, which ends with him crashing his motorcycle, and he claims that he never once heard the police behind him for the entirety of the 30-mile pursuit.
I believe that.
Do you think he just didn't hear him?
Yeah, unless they sped up alongside. Motorcycles are loud.
Okay.
That one's, I don't know.
You're not buying that one.
I understand why we have to go on this journey through Wesley's life to decide whether or not he was duplicitous. So it's admissible in terms of just assessing character. Continue.
And I think you're making a solid point. I think some of the arguments were from his lawyers that Wesley didn't hear them, and the motorcycle crash that they claimed that happened was actually a bump from the police intentionally knocking him off of his motorcycle. They tried to kill the motherfucker.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
The old pit maneuver.
Yeah, exactly.
The pursuit intervention technique.
Exactly. So you're not a hero. You know what I mean? These police officers are not heroes in this situation, nor are they ever heroes in any situation. But I think in particular, the way that you can phrase this, it makes it seem as if old Wesley just wouldn't obey the law. Meanwhile, these motherfuckers are trying to knock a man off a motorcycle at 120 miles per hour.
And that's 96. So what did he do? Probably a couple fines. Year probation, pissing
they
a cup.
actually decided to just give him a single fine for like basically reckless driving, and then they let him go about his day because it's early in his career, but it's hot Wesley Snipes, if that makes sense.
Correct.
Okay, this is where we get into the fun stuff. We talked about Blade Trinity earlier.
Mhm.
Wesley Snipes, during Blade Trinity, sued New Line Cinemas for $5 million after he shot because, number one, he claimed that they broke contract in terms of his decision-making on the editing of the film. Number two, because they apparently did something that fucked with his money because they were technically being paid through like Canada and a Swiss bank or some relationship.
Oh, God.
And so he's trying to basically not have to pay taxes on money that he's receiving from this film, and said that New Line set it up that way and then fucked him on that. And then lastly, he claims that the director and the writers of the film are racist based on an incident on set.
Okay. Now, that's not criminalistic, but I get it. It's definitely misbehaving. It's he said, they said. I know him and Ryan Reynolds didn't get along for the most part on set.
So I'm glad you brought up people not liking him on set. I actually pulled a quote from Patton Oswalt, who was a writer on Blade Trinity. I don't know if you knew that, but he also played a character in it. He wrote Blade Trinity, and he said on set, and I'm going to quote him here, Wesley Snipes was just fucking crazy in a hilarious way. He wouldn't come out of his trailer, and he would smoke weed all day. Then I remember one day on set, they let everyone pick their own clothes, and there was this black actor who was also kind of a club kid, and he wore this shirt with the word garbage on it in big stylish letters. It was his shirt, and Wesley came down to the set, which he only did for close-ups. Everything else was done by his stand-in. I only did one scene with him. But he comes on set and goes, there's only one other black guy in this movie, and you make him wear a shirt that says garbage? You racist motherfucker.
Yo, if that's coming from Patton, I got to believe it. Because Patton Oswalt is one of the most open, and as open, I don't know if you've seen Patton Oswalt's last two specials.
Yeah, I have.
But as open as he's been about his own life.
Yeah.
He ain't got no reason.
Right. Why would he make up this mean thing about Wesley Snipes, given everything that he's explored in his own personal experiences?
Okay. So is that all of them?
Oh, no, there's way more. So,
shit. Okay, baby, we got to get to the Texas. Okay.
So there's more even from Blade Trinity. At one point, Wesley pulled the director, David Goyer, aside and basically asked him to quit the production, saying that he was detrimental to the project. The director then rebuts that Wesley should be the one who quits the production since they already got all of his close-ups and they don't need him anymore. They could just use the stunt double. It's speculated, it's alleged that Wesley gets uncomfortable and then stops speaking to the director completely for the rest of the shoot and will only communicate with him through Post-it notes, which he signs from Blade.
I hope to one day ascend to this level of fame.
Uh-huh.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, you know
That
he
is
wasn't doing that with
amazing.
Spike.
Yeah.
He had to earn
That was
that.
also younger. He was younger and newer and happy to be here.
But that's what I'm
That's
saying. He had to earn that psychosis. You had to earn that point where you're like,
Yeah, you're not going to wild out on the set of Jungle Fever.
mm-mm. Nah, you got to get there. You got to make that.
It was probably, that was also, to be fair, also Spike Lee sets are probably far more inclusive
Uh-huh.
than a major big budget action sequel, you know.
Right.
Okay, keep going.
So there's even some suggestions that I read that because he's so angry with this director and angry with the production, that Wesley Snipes, for major portions of the film, even during his close-ups, will only shoot with his eyes closed. That, like, they basically had to keep his sunglasses on for more scenes than they should have because he just won't open his eyes while he's acting.
So now, okay, so when we start with allegations of physical assault, and we've worked our way all the way down to, well, I heard that he didn't like the food that they made. All right, at what point do we draw the line and go, all right, we got enough to make our diagnosis?
Sure. I think that we've had enough for a while, but I'll hit you with a few more, and then we'll make a final decision. You know, from 1991 to 2001, Wesley basically didn't pay taxes, and then he basically owes $7 million for tax evasion to the IRS. He goes to jail for it, right? Now,
he also went to Africa during that time and hid, was stalling on coming home to either, I'm not sure if it was to report to prison or if it was to actually face trial for those, to actually be arrested and tried.
He just sort of tries to do a Roman Polanski type thing, and I'm just going to chill somewhere else.
But he was making films. He was legit like, hey, I'm over here making a film.
Yeah.
Well, y'all ain't done? No, we still, it's been a year. Yeah, I know.
Damn, this is the longest film I ever shot. I don't know what's wrong with it.
It was that type of vibe.
I got you. So when he gets out of jail, and this actually speaks, I think, in the opposite direction. He gets out of jail. He goes in for $7 million. He gets out, and the IRS is like, hey, bro, you owe us $18 million. And Wesley sues the IRS. He's like, no, are you insane? I'm not paying you $18 million for, where's that money going to come from? He says, I'll give you $850,000. That's my compromise to whatever you're asking for. And the IRS eventually negotiates it to $9.5 million, which Wesley apparently still owes. I don't know how it works.
Me neither. They just take a pinch. As long as you're making money, they take a pinch.
Right. And that's what his claim was like, y'all just making up numbers now. You're like looking at my career and being like, I bet this is what we can get from him.
Well, as a person who's been audited by the IRS 3 times, there is some validity to Mr. Snipes' allegations that our government does just go, you owe a gajillion billion. And I'm like, what? I did a college for $900 early on, like when I first started doing colleges and stuff. And this is like 05, 06. The college paid me $900, but on the 1099, they didn't put a decimal point. So it looked like I got paid $90,000.
Whoa.
And so when you don't claim $90,000,
right,
they call you into the office to have a conversation. And I got all my paperwork. I'm not like Wesley. I ain't go hide in Africa.
Right.
I'm like, let's discuss this. And I'm like, as you can see, all these other colleges all paid me, $100 on either side of $900.
Right.
That's I either make $750 or I make $900, $950. Like that's what I make for a college.
Right.
And they was like, let's do it for an audit. And so once you get audited, you essentially get re-audited every 2 years for like 2 or 3 more audits. Your name just keeps coming up, oddly enough, because they keep flagging your account to make sure that you're not trying to claim $90,000.
Right.
So they just will you will literally just get a letter in the mail to just go, yeah, what's up on that $3 million? I'm like,
hey, just so
pardon?
We still looking at you, dog. Just so you know.
And that's fine. I respect. I'm on your radar. Cool. But don't just tell me what I owe. Let's have a conversation. I will bring in my pay stubs and my gas receipts. Man, I had everything.
Yeah.
But you throw nothing away, young comedians, and they say, oh, after 7 years. No, keep it. I got my tax returns from 02, just in case. Bitch, I'm ready.
Come for me. I'm ready. I'm ready. So Wesley, as an attempt to make up for the money that he in theory owes to the IRS, decides that the best way to do it is through fighting. And I don't know if you know this, he challenged Joe Rogan to like a public fight for money. And Joe Rogan agreed to it. They were going to like square. It was Wesley Snipes and Joe Rogan were supposed to square off for money.
This.
Yeah, Christmas Day. And you get to watch Joe Rogan and Wesley Snipes beat the shit out of each other, but then apparently all sorts of shenanigans took place that kept the fight from ever transpiring.
Boxing commissions and all of that.
Exactly. And so finally...
that would have been a good fight.
In his current career, as a sort of man now, making the rounds, doing cool movies and popping into things, but not necessarily being the big action star we once knew. People have
The Expendables and all of
Yeah,
that.
exactly. But people have been asking Wesley, what do you want to do with your career now? How are you feeling about your career? And his response now is he's more focused on dance. He's not at all interested in acting. He says he feels more fulfilled in the world of dance and martial arts. And in particular, he also has been working on a book series, a trilogy of books called Talon of God, that the first book already exists, and he has a number of books that he also is working on and trying to make.
Okay. I mean, he's earned the right to pivot. He's an OG.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to the original crime of which we're alleging him, which is shadily telling another actor the wrong place for an audition.
Yep. Do you in fact think that Wesley Snipes, given everything that we've now learned about him, has the potential to do something that nefarious?
I just do not think that he would do that to another brother coming off of, if Passage of 57 at the time, this is his first real crossover into mainstream land. I just don't know, man. You didn't come from too many black projects at that point. So you know what other black actors are going through. You understand the struggle of getting to that point. May the best man win. I'm sure you had to audition against a bunch of other vets to get New Jack City and to get Jungle Fever and to get Sugar. Like, I'm more inclined to believe the Halle Berry allegations than I am the Billy Blanks. Now, if you did one, could you have done the other? Possibly.
Sure.
Possibly. But I'm more inclined to believe that, and this sounds crazy to say, that I am more inclined to believe what Halle said, because Halle also, much like Ryan Reynolds and Patton Oswalt, she ain't got no reason to lie. I don't think she's ever said on the record, but I know that's what the streets say about this.
Yes.
So I'm more inclined to believe that. But when you look at everything else Wesley did, it was anti-establishment. Fuck the government, so I'm a speed. Fuck the government, so I ain't gonna pay my taxes. I'm tired of these white people on set, so I'm gonna act a donkey around these white people. You can't show me anything else in his track record that was just straight up blatantly anti-black.
I like that. I think that's a clear, good take on this. I think that Wesley, for the most part, has supported black people even during his most wild and sort of crazy decisions. He's never been anti-black.
If his behavior on Blade Trinity, if that happened, that was in support of the black man that was wearing the garbage shirt.
He saw the only other black person on this set. He was wearing a shirt that said garbage, and he said, not on the Wesley production.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think that the Halle Berry allegation puts me on a bubble, but when you add gender to an argument about race, does that make it a different reason for that transgression? And you also look into how some men want to feel powerful over women, and how a man relates to a woman, to me, makes that different from Wesley versus Billy Blanks.
Right.
Even if the Halle stuff is true, I don't feel like that man who could put his hands on a woman would also be the same man that would take something away from a black man. As backwards as that sounds, just in looking at if you just look at all of his transgressions, how many were anti-black men?
And I think, to your point, there's a entire way of thinking for certain men that you support black men at all times. And we sometimes forget that black women fall into the exact same sort of need and importance for support. And so it's
egregious. It's straight asshole behavior. But that's what I'm saying. Maybe he's one of them types who, I ain't studying these women, but my brother, my king, my brother Egypt, and the third eye and the Mason. You could be pro-black man and anti-black woman. Sadly, there's a lot of people that fall into that bucket. I don't know, man. I just don't know if Wesley did this, man.
Wesley,
I don't know if Wesley did this to Billy Blanks.
you heard it here first, everyone. Wesley Snipes did not sabotage Billy Blanks. Billy got what he deserved. Buy your Tybo DVDs because the man is living out the life that was meant for him.
Google how much money Billy Blanks made off Tybo and see if you still feel sorry for him. He did good.
Billy is fine.
I don't know if it was 3-digit millions, but he definitely in the 2-digit millions.
I think I saw that Billy is worth like $30 million or something like that.
I'll take it. The average American only sees 3 million before they die.
Yeah, Billy's doing okay. Hell yeah. All right, we're going to take a break and we'll be back with more Roy Wood Jr. and more My Mama Told Me. And we are back.
I can go anywhere.
Suck my dick.
We're back here with more My Mama Told Me, more Roy Wood Jr. We're defending Wesley Snipes at this point. Maybe not his character as a whole, but we're certainly defending him against the possibility that he actually tricked his counterpart, Billy Blanks, out of an audition opportunity that would have changed both of their lives.
I just think that even if Wesley did it, there are other people who fail Billy Blanks as well.
Exactly. Wesley is
even if
not the
Wesley did
greatest
this-
criminal in this story.
I don't think it's true, man. I know this girl's aunt told me this, but you know, she might have been dealing. This is the 90s. They wasn't checking for PTSD
No.
back then. This girl aunt came straight from the Persian Gulf War. God bless her.
Right.
Thank you for your service. Then just started spewing random rumors all over Birmingham.
Sure. That wasn't her only Wesley Snipes rumor. I'm sure she had plenty of others because she didn't like the motherfucker. She was going to say
Yeah.
whatever she needed to about Wesley
Yeah,
Snipes.
that's not fair. That's not fair.
It's not fair. But you know what is fair is Wesley Snipes is in fact writing a book. He's written a book and he has 2 more on the way. They are
for him.
entitled Talon of God. And what I thought we should do as a fun little game, a fun way to end this thing off, is I'm going to read us some excerpts from Talon of God. And I just want you to give me your general thoughts. How are you feeling about Wesley Snipes as an author? Where are you thinking this story is going to go? Does it have the potential to be as important in his career as, let's say, Blade 2?
Okay.
Hell yeah. So I'm going to start at a little bit of a midpoint in the preface because some of this is a little long and unnecessary. But he says, spare some change for a veteran. Rattle, rattle. Spare some change for... His voice faded. Someone had stopped. A young black man in a heavy black coat with the shiniest shoes Lenny had ever seen. That was a good sign. So Lenny rattled his cup again, giving the smart-looking stranger a snaggletooth smile. Spare some change for a veteran, sir? I can do better than that, the man said, reaching into his pocket to draw out a crisp, folded bill. He so rarely got paid paper money, but when he did, it was usually good. A 5, maybe even 10. Enough for a hot dinner and maybe coffee tomorrow, too. But his fingers closed around the money. The man with the shiny shoes didn't let go. How you feeling so far? You engaged?
I mean, it's moving. It's moving. It's, you know, I need to know more about what's happening, but paints a good picture.
Sure.
That's all you need for a book. You know the difference between a book and a TV script? It's just you just got to use more adjectives and describe. The shiny shoes clink gently underneath the pavement. Inside the shoe, weary souls of feet that have walked 1,000,000 miles with 10 million more miles to go, full of memories.
You just throwing a metaphor that lengthens the page a little bit.
The corrosion of the penny in the cup as it clanked. Flackles up into the air and up his nostrils.
Well,
nostrils that had not smelled fresh food. Like, to me, that's what books are versus like a film script. I'm not shitting on it. I just think he did that. I just don't know the whole story.
Sure.
I'll pull this up on Audible whenever it's done.
Okay.
I don't even know what genre this is. Is this young adult youth fiction? Like,
I think
don't know.
It's sci-fi Jesus. Is that a possible genre?
Jesus is sci-fi, depending on who you ask.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting here just That seemed very coherent and written by an educated person.
Sure.
It'll be sold in 5 years, and the trilogy will do $400 million or something absurd.
Okay, you believe in his work.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, people buy books, and it's a good time to be black. All they doing is adopting black stories and putting them on TV. So why not Wesley Snipes? Shit. I just hope the audiobook is good, because there's a lot of black authors out here reading their own books, and I'm like, yo, you should have hired someone else.
I don't read well out loud, so I hope they don't ask me. But I think I think Wesley will figure it out. I'm sure he can get somebody to help him with this shit.
What we need from him is a damn autobiography, because he's lived a life.
I'd love that.
I want to know everything about him pre-acting, like his journey before, he drifted into that.
I would love if it had like some of that Quincy Jones energy. You know what I mean? Like if it's just like that raw, untold story. Like let's start snitching, Wesley. You know what I mean? Like really start like exposing some of those deep truths that nobody knew about for you and your world as Wesley Snipes.
Yeah, I'm with that. We'll see.
Yeah.
So after Wesley Snipes listens to this episode and puts a hit out on you.
Yep.
What's your plan? What country are you going to move to? Where are you going?
Ghana seems cool. My mom's moving there, and they've got some cool stuff going on. I could be Ghanaian. I'll move to Ghana. That seems like although Wesley was shooting over there, so maybe he already has connections.
He's got people.
He could get me taken care of in Ghana. I got to move somewhere Wesley hasn't worked. He was an international man for a long time.
He's been everywhere, bro. His passport got all the stamps.
Damn.
You fucked.
Yeah, I really fucked up. Well, I should have never invited you. This is all a trap by you to get me to say mean things about Wesley Snipes.
Don't point the finger at me. I didn't say nothing bad about him. I just stated the fact of what her angry aunt told me one time when I bought her niece a shitty Christmas gift. And that's how we ended up in this place.
That's fair. I got to blame that aunt. I got to trace this back to the conception of my eventual downfall from Wesley Snipes.
Indeed.
Okay. For some reason, this made the man smile. And what if I were to offer you something better? He asked, reaching his gloved hand inside the heavy winter coat to pull out a small glass bottle filled with a liquid so bright green it almost seemed to glow in the dim light. Something new. Lenny recoiled at once, swearing to himself, just his luck, the one bit he got tonight, and it was a pusher. Unlike a lot of the people he'd met on the street, though, Lenny didn't truck with drugs. He'd had enough chemicals sprayed on him in Nam to last 5 lifetimes. Nah, man, he said, scooting backwards further into the shelter of the bridge. I don't touch this stuff. It's free, the man said, tossing the green vial casually in his hand. Try it. The first hit was always free. Nah, Lenny said again, backing away. I'm clean, man. I don't do that. But as Lenny pushed himself off the pavement to walk away, the man in black grabbed his arm. I think there's been a misunderstanding, the stranger said softly. This wasn't a request.
Yeah, it's time for the karate.
Mm-hmm. It's about to get it.
That's all right. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I'll check this book out. A Dom vet, homeless, getting Jesus quizzes on the street, and he just break out into karate fights.
Right. Over a green vial of ooze? That's not bad.
Yeah. See, I knew where he was going. I knew he was going. You got to give Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes deserves at least to finish one of these books and produce that.
Sure.
Got to get that out.
Stop playing and let Wesley actually make the books that he needs to make, because y'all ain't letting the world build.
Yeah, man. Let them content create, man. I'm with it.
I love it. Well, there's a whole bunch of other stuff about Lenny's eyes bugging open and this man fist fighting him in the streets, but I think you get the idea. Wesley loves Jesus and loves sci-fi and loves karate, and he wrote some books about it. So you guys could go check it out. It's called Talon of God. I don't know what the Talon is, but you know.
Okay. Yeah. I'll find that on Audible. I'll listen to the Audible version.
It's gonna be read by the Allstate guy. And
Lenny asked him politely. He said, "Do not touch me, motherfucker."
Get up off me, dog. Well, this was a great time. Roy,
Man, thank you, brother.
Can you tell everybody where they can
appreciate it.
find you? What cool
My
shit
name
you
is
got
Roy
on?
Wood Jr. Just put an @ sign in front of it or put a .com behind it.
Hell
And
yeah.
that's me everywhere.
At that
That's all you got to do.
.com. Follow the man. He's hilarious. He's one of my favorite comedians working. And as always, you can follow me at Langston Kerman. Just add that @ and put the .com. I'm going to copy off of what Roy just said. It's easy. It's
Add in front, .com in the
there
back.
you go. And like and subscribe and do all the things you do to podcasts. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.